Rafa, and this class is Spanish 2, and the topic for today is el imperfecto. Our objective for today will be to review the imperfect tense and how we use it to communicate continuous, habitual, repeating, or progressive actions in the past. In English, this form is called the past progressive or past continuous. So, by the end of this lesson, you will be able to identify the imperfect tense in spoken and written communication. So, how do we use el imperfecto in Spanish? So, like I had mentioned before, we use the imperfect tense to describe an action that happened in the past, but it describes an action uh, that was habitual, continuous, progressive, or repeated. Um, and since there are different ways in which we can use the imperfect tense in Spanish and English, I'm only going to focus on how we use it to describe repeating actions in the past. So let's look at our first sentence. It says she used to eat at the restaurant on Tuesdays. What is the action in the sentence? We know she used to go to the restaurant on Tuesdays, but what does she do at the restaurant? She would eat. So that is your action and that is your verb. But there's another word in the sentence that indicates that this action happened in the past. And that word is used. She used to eat at the restaurant on Tuesdays. So the word used to is telling you that this happened in the past. Uh, and if you keep reading the sentence, the word Tuesdays also suggests that she would do that every week. You know? So it was a continuous action. So the sentence is describing an action uh, that it would happen in the past and that it would happen continuously. Uh, Now, the imperfect tense is used in the same way in Spanish to describe, an action that happened in the past and that was continuous. The sentence "She used to eat at the restaurant on Tuesdays" translates to "Ella comía en el restaurante los martes." In the second sentence, the verb comía has already been conjugated with the imperfect tense. The infinitive form or the basic form of comía is the word comer, and it means to eat. Uh, when you conjugate a verb in Spanish, there are a few grammatical items that you need to consider to make sure that you're using the correct verb ending for the imperfect tense. Uh, the first thing, uh, the first thing you have to identify is the subject pronoun. In this case, we're using ella to describe a person or a thing, the person that we're talking about. Uh, and the second is your verb and your verb ending. So we have the verb comer, and your verb ending uh, is er. If you look at the chart to our right, it provides all the verb endings that we use when we conjugate a verb in Spanish with el imperfecto. If the verb ends with the letters ar, you're going to use aba, abas, aba, abamos, abais, and aban. And if the verb ends with er or ir, you're going to use I, ias, ia, iamos, ias, or ian. So they all change depending on the person that you're talking about in the sentence. In this case, we're using the subject pronoun ella, and the verb is comer, and uh, the verb ending is er. So when you look at the chart, ella, él, y usted use the same verb endings, which are for AR it's ava, and ER and IR is ia. And to conjugate a verb in Spanish, you take your verb and drop the last two letters of your verb, which are ER. For comer, it's ER. And you replace them with the correct verb ending for el imperfecto. In this case, we're using ella, we're using ella. So, and the verb ending is er. So we have ella and er. So the correct verb ending would be ia, just like it shows here on the second sentence. Ella comía en el restaurante los martes. So now that I've showed you how to the imperfect tense in Spanish, it's time for some practice. So if everyone can please take out a blank sheet of paper and a pencil or a pen, and you're going to be writing down these three sentences, and you're going to conjugate the verbs in parentheses using el imperfecto. Remember that you have to identify your subject pronoun and your verb ending, and you can use this chart as a guide to conjugate those verbs. You will have about 5 minutes to complete this activity, and once the time is up, we're going to come back and review the answers together. Okay, so now that everyone's done, it's been 5 minutes, so let's review the answers. Uh, or let's review the sentences. So the first sentence is tú comer tacos todos los días. So we know we have the subject pronoun tú, we have the verb comer, and the verb endings are er. So if we look at our chart, we have tú, and our verb ending is er. So the correct verb ending would be ias. So it would be tú comías tacos todos los días. In the second sentence, él siempre escribir todos los apuntes en la clase de español. So we have the subject pronoun él and the verb escribir, and the verb ending is ir, or ir. So we look at our chart. We have él, ella, and usted. So we have él, and we're using the verb ending er. So the correct verb ending would be ia. Él siempre escribía todos los apuntes en la clase de español. So that would be the correct answer. Escribía. Now the last sentence says ellos caminar en el parque cada fin de semana. So we have the subject pronoun ellos and the verb caminar and the verb ending ar. So we look at our chart, we have ellos and the verb ending ar. So the correct verb ending would be aban. So ellos caminaban en el parque cada fin de semana. All right, guys. So those are the correct answers. Everyone did a good job. Good job. I hope everyone learned something from this lesson and is now able to understand how to conjugate verbs in Spanish using el imperfecto. My name is Jesus Mata, and thank you for your attention.